few teams that may need a measurement or may need to outright push the button. You ready?
I'm ready.
I want your opinion. Should they push the button? We'll get to it.
I'm ready.
Let's start with the LA Clippers, who've actually had a decent week on the floor. They beat some lesser teams, but there we go. They sit 8-12 and have only one healthy opening night starter left after the Blake Griffin injury. Is it panic time in Clipperland?
I think right now internally there's a lot going on where this group is looking around saying, what are we going to do? And I think they're in a position because of the Blake Griffin injury now. Do you go ahead and start looking for trades, or are you patient enough to allow him to come back and see if they can get this thing back in order? Because they lost their leader in Chris Paul, the guy who directed everybody, and there may not have been great harmony, but you had a great player who was willing to take the lead and tell everybody to follow. He's gone. Who steps up in that position? New cast of characters, no sixth man coming off to get you 20 every night in Jamal Crawford. I think right now there's a lot of questions they're trying to answer.
Is that your way of diplomatically saying that it's time to panic?
Yes.
Thank you. Karan.
It's definitely time to panic. I thought it was time to panic the second Chris Paul had left, Los Angeles, because you didn't just lose a player, which Coach touched on, but you lost a culture. He brought a winning culture to that organization, one that haven't been seen ever, pretty much. And then now Blake Griffin goes down, Patrick Beverly go down. I thought that was the biggest key. And then now that momentum and whatever chances that you had is going away. Panic.
It does, panic. You're saying panic.
Two times.
It does feel like the bad old days of the Clippers again. I mean, there's a lot of time left in the season.
And the Lakers are on the rise.
Memphis may have already panicked. They fired head coach David Fizdale on Monday. They've lost 9 straight. I love the sound effect. And Mike Conley doesn't seem to be very close to returning from his Achilles injury. Is it panic time?
I would have to say yes. You fired the coach, Coach Fizdale. You still have some confusion right there because Mike Conley was trying to be the guy that, be the mediator in the situation. And he just released a statement saying that it was difficult to mediate that situation, and he wanted Fizdale to, possibly be there still. So now there's going to be mixed feelings about that in that locker room, and that can take away from momentum and everything. So it's panic time there. Who knows when Mike Conley come back? That's a huge if and when.
Why don't we start with the offseason, okay? Think about how many years these guys have between them. Zebo, okay, a guy named Vince Carter.
Heard of him.
And a guy named Tony Allen.
Familiar.
That's who leaves the team, the heart and soul of this Grizzly team.
Yeah.
They move on. If you take Connolly and Marc Gasol and move them over, is this a great roster? I mean, think about that for a second in the Western Conference.
It's a fair question. I mean, clearly they were going to pivot from grit and grind, but the question is to what?
Well, that's Fizdale tried to change their style of play, tried to up-tempo, tried to play faster, shoot more threes. But, you have to have personnel to do that. And he did a great job last year. Not a good job. He did a great job last year with that team. Okay, and now you come back and you lose one of the only 2 pieces that we just talked about that are really good. Gasol, you got your point guard out. That's a problem.
So it sounds like you think they should have started panicking back in the summer.
Well, they should have known that it may not be all roses come this season. Okay, and then nobody wants an injury to a key guy.
The Washington Wizards are also missing their star point guard, John Wall, but they have other issues, of course, including an inconsistent bench, poor late-game execution. Should there be panic, some would say more panic, in the nation's capital?
Well, Washington right now at home is not taking care of business, okay? They won game 11-10, 6-4 on their own floor. And for some reason, I just can't figure out where the harmony and love go that you were seeing early on you expected. I mean, this, without question, this team was going to be either 3 or 4 when you looked at the Eastern Conference to start the season. Now they're in the 8th spot, trying to hang on and hang with all the guys that are around 500. And I don't know what the missing piece is, what's changed from last year, because we all know the backcourt is what carries this team. Something else is missing.
Well, you see them in a lot of discussions, with the DeAndre Jordan situation and things like that, like numerous teams are. But I don't think you panic, but I think the sense of urgency definitely need to go up, because you look at a guy like John Wall, who's not out there. Unfortunately, he's unhealthy right now, but he'll be back soon. And Bradley Beal, this is a great time for him in his pocket, and this is time to capitalize on this opportunity and lead this ball club.
So they need another piece, you're saying?
I feel they're a piece away. They can do damage in the East, and they can hold on in the East to stay in the top 4.
kind of got capped out by the Otto Porter deal. That's one of the reasons they weren't able to keep Bojan Bogdanovic in the offseason.
Well, can I make an excuse for him right now?
Please do.
All right, if you look over at what Cleveland's just done, it took Cleveland winning 10 in a row, 11 in a row, to get to this point. They were 5-7, Cleveland, before they started this run. So now, having said that, is it okay that Washington is 11-10 after 20 games, that maybe now they get their act together? Like they're going like, yeah, you know what, let's stop playing.
I don't know.
Harder.
That's a good question. They don't have all the new pieces that Cleveland does.
I'm asking, can we give them the same pass? That
No, sure. Well, if any of these teams wins 10 in a row, then we're not talking about panic.
They don't have that guy either, John Wall.
Wizards 1-4 in games decided by 3 or less. How about Charlotte? They'll be without Kemba Walker again tonight in Miami, which is a road game which has been a problem. The Hornets are 1-10 outside their home arena so far. Panic City and the Queen City.
You know what? I would have to say that I will be panicking a little bit just because I thought the chemistry would be a lot better. But Batum just coming back of recent times, the chemistry is just, I don't see it yet. But it takes time. So we need to see another 15, 20 games with this nucleus out there healthy, playing in the Eastern Conference. I feel like things can happen. And Dwight Howard has shown some flashes.
Dwight Howard's been good.
He's shown some flashes. So he looked like he's back to, being healthy and playing good basketball. Now you need Kemba Walker, UConn, back out there healthy doing some magnificent things.
Hold on.
You slid that one in there real quick.
We got about 15 minutes of the show for our first UConn reference.
I'm not panicking with Charlotte. Here's why. I think they have an outstanding coach. I think Dwight Howard has connected with Steve Clifford because they were together before, and he's playing his best basketball he's played in years. Now the other guys have to get back to playing. Batum was out, came back for like one game, re-injured the elbow. Kemba Walker, get back on that roll like he had going last year. I think this team will play and can get back to the 500 mark and play around that level for the remainder of the season.
Batum's not really an all-star type player, but he might be the linchpin of all that. His playmaking is huge.
That bench has to step up.
He's a glue guy.